How many prisoners accused of a capital crime, death penalty situation, make no defense even though innocent? If I say less than, there probably have been some, not many, but some. But if I say of all the prisoners, less than 1 in 1,000, I think I'm being generous. Are you with me so far? Okay. Another one from Isaiah 53, he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. How many died among the wicked and yet were buried with the rich? That should whittle it down, but if I say less than 1 in 1,000, I think I'm being gracious. One more, last one. We have to take one out of Psalm 22. Psalm 22 reads as if it was dictated first person singular as he hung on the cross, even though it was written 700 years earlier. For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me, they pierced my hands and my feet. Now, what makes this remarkable, this was written 700 years before crucifixion was invented. The official form of capital punishment in Israel was stoning. But here in their scriptures, the Messiah is to be crucified. It was invented by the Persians, widely adopted by the Romans. How many people, taken at random, in the last 2,000 years, have died by having their hands and feet pierced? There were many thousands, of course. But if I say less than 1 in 10,000 of the entire population, I'm being generous. Okay? So I've given you 8 prophecies we've selected here. Born in Bethlehem, king on a donkey, 30 pieces of silver, transaction in the temple to the potter and all of that. Wounds in his hands, no defense though innocent, died with the wicked, grave with the rich, crucified. Now the question is, okay, we've got a priori probabilities estimated for each one of these 8 prophecies. Now the question we need to address is, okay, what's the probability that a particular person fulfilled all 8 of these? That's an exercise in composite probabilities, and for that we need a little tutorial background. Let's assume that in the audience here we have 100 people, and let's assume that 60% of the audience is male and 40% is female. What is the probability that if I picked one of you at random, I would pick a female? Well, the answer to that's pretty straightforward. It's 40%. Now, if there's 40 of 100 that are female, my random chance of picking one of you that's female would be probability of 0.4 or 40%, depending how you want to express it. Okay, let me take a different example. Let's assume that we have a population that's 60% right-handed and 40% left-handed. And let's assume for this discussion that those properties are randomly distributed among the audience. That isn't always men that are right-handed or women left-handed, anything like that. That is uniform. If the population is 60% right-handed and 40% left-handed, what's the probability if I pick someone at random from the audience that is left-handed? What's the probability? 40% again, right? Okay, so now the question that leaves, okay, what's the probability of selecting a left-handed female? That's the thing between us. Well, I take the one distribution of left and right-handedness. I take the distribution of male and female, and I combine those 2 distributions, and what I'm looking for are those that have those 2 attributes in common. And obviously, if you go through the math here, that turns out to be 16%, or probably 0.16. What I'm trying to get across is why it is that in composite probabilities, we simply multiply the distributions. In other words, the probability of left-handedness times the probability of right-handedness, or female, or gender, I should say, gives me the probability of getting a left-handed female. Are you with me? Now, what that tells us to do then, with these 8 prophecies, I need to multiply these prophecies. The way I do that, I've done conveniently in powers of 10, and it's very simple to multiply them because I simply count the zeros. If I take 10 times 100, I just got 1,000. I just count the zeros. You follow me? So I have 10 with 28 zeros after it. Okay, that's the probability of one person fulfilling these 8 prophecies. But I got to divide that by the total population of the, that's involved. I'm going to assume it's about 10 to the 11th. So that gives me 10 to the 17th. 10 to the 28th divided by 10 to the 11th gives me 10 to the 17th. That's still a very big number. Now, if I was teaching a class in statistics and I wanted to get across to you, say, what is 1 chance in 100 mean, one way to do that is I could take a large bucket and put 100 silver dollars in it. I take one of the silver dollars and mark it with lipstick or with a nail polish or something, and shake that up so that it has an equal chance of being anywhere. And my chance of picking the marked one, if I reach in there blindfolded and pick one silver dollar, my chance of picking up the silver dollar that was marked is 1 chance in 100. That's what we mean by a probability of 1 in 100. I can demonstrate that by the bucket. Well, now I need a bucket that'll hold 10 to the 17th silver dollars to get this across. Well, where do I do? Well, let's take, where do I get a bucket of 10 to the 17th silver dollars? I take the state of Texas, and I fill it with silver dollars. And when it gets 2 feet deep, I've got about 10 to the 17th silver dollars. And so I send someone in there, blindfolded, in such circumstances that he has an equal chance of getting any particular silver dollar. And when he picks up the one, the chance that he got the marked one is 1 chance in 10 to the 17th. You with me? Well, I only took 8 prophecies out of 300. I've got 300 to choose from. Let me take another 8, but to save time, I won't go through an analysis. I'm going to stipulate that the next 8 are no less likely than the first 8. Now, that's a fiction because the next 8 will be more precise and more rare. But let's ignore that. Let's assume that the next 8 are no less likely than the ones I picked. I've got 300 to choose from. So the next 8 would be more specific, but we're going to ignore that factor. Assuming no decrease in likelihoods, I have 10 to the 28th times 10 to the 28th, that's 10 to the 56th, and again I got to divide by 10 to the 11th. So now I have 10 to the 45th to deal with. How do I get a silver dollar? What kind of a bucket do I need now? Well, it turns out that I need build a ball of silver dollars that's 30 times the distance from the earth to the sun. And that will give me 10 to the 45th silver dollars. I'm just trying to get across how huge, absurdly huge, these probabilities have come so far. Let's do this one more time. This time I won't double, I'll triple it. I'll go from 16 to 48. And again, I have 300 to choose from. And assuming no decrease in likelihoods, I now have 10 to the 28th 6 times. That's 10 to the 168. I got to divide that by 10 to the 11th again. So now I have 10 to the 157th to build up. To try to demonstrate a probability of 10 to the 157th, silver dollars won't work, they're too big. So I'm going to indulge in an imaginary element here. It's the smallest thing that you can imagine. Let's make it an atom. We're going to make a ball of atoms. Okay, I need to get to 10 to the 157th. How am I going to do this? Well, if I make a ball of atoms involving every atom in our galaxy, that's 10 to the 66th. You say, well, gee, I'm a long way from 10 to the 157th. That's right. I need to make such a ball for every atom in the universe. That's 10 to the 66th. I'm 10 to the 66th. Now I'm 10 to the 132nd. I'm still a long way from 10 to the 157th. I'm already beyond our ability to imagine this in the first place. I'm going to repeat this whole exercise every second since the universe began, assuming a 16 billion year lifetime. And now I'm only at 10 to the 149th. I've still got a long way to go. 10 to the 149th versus 10 to the 157th. I am still short by 100 million times. Now, I've obviously, in running out this exercise, gotten to beyond our threshold of conceptual reach here. But I want to point out that I've only dealt with 48 of over 300 prophecies. What am I trying to get at? I'm convinced that Jesus Christ was the Messiah of Israel. I'm more confident in that fact than I am my own name, my own existence. And I've incidentally skipped some of the most amazing of them. His detailed genealogy, the specific prediction of the precise day that the Messiah would present himself as king to Jerusalem, the Old Testament Midrashic prophecies, and a lot of others. Let me just pick one to give you a